We're out here. This is the field where the magic happens.
Benning Bites with Damon Benning. Benning Bites with Damon Benning.
Another episode of Benning Bites. It's with my main man, Ravi Lua, this morning. Some spirited discussions. As usual, we were talking about with Brian Christopherson, and it sparked a lot of thought, a couple different segments after the bat about, Nebraska's got some 2025 offers to some previously committed defensive backs. And we just were talking about the competitiveness, and this was on the heels of, I think people know that I have a particular passion for the way Coach Coop instructs guys, demands excellence. Really, I just love his style. I think he embraces development. He's pretty hard-nosed, and just kind of what that would take. And I was making some comparisons, and I understand context, obviously having played there. But I said, being in that secondary sometimes makes me reminisce going back to when I was playing, where you were going from Ken Clark to Leotis Flowers to Derek Brown and Calvin Jones to Lawrence Phillips to Amon Green to D'Angelo Evans and all the really good players that were stacked. And I said at some point you have to get to the point where you're so unified in what you believe in terms of the end game that you don't score watch to see who's coming in behind you. You just, hey, this is another young guy that's going to be part of a great group, and because it really forces you to have to stay on your game. And I think it's not just the defensive backs room. I mean, look at how talented the wide receiver room turned overnight. That allows a guy like Jaden Doss, who played last year as a freshman, to now be considered to add depth at the cornerback spot. Or, in a lot of the wide receiver discussions, we omit guys like Malachi Coleman because of the shoulder work that he had done and not being real physical in spring, but just the added depth. They just keep stacking good players. A guy like Ethan Nation, who played early last year as a talented young guy that is no longer with the program. Like, how will it be something like that? Well, we'll say, you know what, that just happens. They're in the development game. It's what they do. It's competitive. And there's this part of me that really hopes so, because I think that type of competitive culture and making sure that you're the best version of yourself is how people can operate in a healthy manner. But the key is what I think one of the strong suits of this staff is. It's the culture that they're building where you can root one another on and have their best interest at heart, because those are the young men that they're developing. It's truly kind of reach one, teach one. The next man up mentality happens through development. I'm going to be a guy that's getting 25 snaps playing behind the guy that's getting 40. I'm going to be the guy that's getting 8 snaps playing behind the guy that's getting 25. And that's really what the next man up means in past just theory. We say it all the time, but what does the development of it look like? That's really what it looks like. Where a Cam Linhart and a Prince Umamewelen can go from 28 to 35 snaps a game to being multidimensional, being good against the run, and being able to get after the passer, and getting to 45 to 50 snaps or whatever that number is, just staying on your game. Not just, well, we played last year as young guys, so we should be good this. No. See, we don't want to do that, right? And that's why I love the talk about the development of Tommy Hill and guys like Isaac Gifford. And I get it. I think the free world knows I'm a huge Isaac Gifford fan, and a lot of it has to do with his approach to the game. And we were just talking about the comments where Coach Coop said a couple months ago, he's one of the best defensive players in the country. And it got me thinking. I just how good of the defensive backs are in the conference. Like, if you're ranking safeties, And I say ranking, and I don't mean in any particular order, but I do think you have to start with Caleb Downs at Ohio State. And if you're just staying in the Big Ten Conference, you've got Dylan Thieneman from Purdue, who, by the way, was like a top 90 safety prospect coming out, and a couple of years later, this guy is one of the top safeties in the conference. Kevin Winston Jr. at Penn State, I think, is pretty prolific. You've got Wongpa at Iowa. You've got Rod Moore at Michigan. You've got Wohlers at Wisconsin. I mean, you've got a lot of guys. And for Gifford and I get it, there's a tandem at Ohio State, and I'm not leaving them out to leave them out. I'm just talking about, as an example, the level of depth in the conference is crazy. Where would Tommy Hill rank nationally? Well, you arguably have the top corner in the country, and Will Johnson plays in the Big Ten Conference. You've got guys like Sebastian Castro, who is at Iowa, who is a fantastic defensive back. You've got Jabari Muhammad. We forget that Oregon is now in the Big Ten Conference. And these are elite level cornerbacks and safeties in the country. And they're right here in our very own backyard in the Big Ten. It's an important position group, obviously, but it's one in which I think Nebraska, with the development of and the mentality of the program and the way they're trying to stockpile depth to get guys ready. To hear Coach Coop a couple of weeks ago in Texas talk about how he embraces teaching and developing guys, it's one of the things that helps him get out of bed, just because he's so stinking competitive, which he is. And the thing that makes it makes it cool. I joked about the stories where I was talking to him. This was a couple months ago at spring practice, and he said, DB, you should come around more. And I was like, I think I should actually be around less, especially with having a kid in the program. And he says, no. I just mean football. I like talking football. You got work to do for the network. That's a good thing. Don't worry about your kid. You don't have to say another word to him. I got that. And I just remember looking at him like, you know what? I can appreciate that. That's part of the reason that he's here, because I know in my heart of hearts I'm going to get him back as a person better than where I left him because of the adults that he's around. I firmly believe that in my heart of hearts, and that's part of the reason why I love the competition. That's part of the reason why I love the culture, and that's a lot of the reason why, my big thing to folks coming into this program that want to be here for the long haul is, number one, trust the leadership, and two, the offspring of that is just doing what you're told. You have tremendous nutrition staff. You have a tremendous strength and conditioning staff. You have some folks on that staff that are really, really good in the development area. Simply just listen and watch the magic happen, hopefully, as Nebraska tries to put themselves in a position to go bowling this year. It's another episode of Benning Bites.